Hi, I'm Ray Allegrezza. I am Executive Director of IFRA and Editor at Large at Home News Now. And welcome to another edition of The Last Word. If this is your first time catching one of these podcasts, where have you been? These are fun. And if you've caught some of these in the past, you know what we do is I find really smart people from the furniture industry that have interesting things to say. And when I ran the paper, my column was always the last word. And so the cool thing about this podcast is I give whoever I'm speaking with the last word, so they get the final word. I am thrilled today. I'm here with Lael Thompson, who has been in the furniture industry for quite some time and has cut his teeth in retail. And we're going to talk to him today about, a myriad of subjects, about retail, about his background, about where the industry is now and where it's going. So welcome, Lael. It's great to see you.
Hey, thanks, Ray. I'm glad to be here with you.
And probably for the two people in the industry who don't know who you are, just give us a little background.
Well, thank you. So, like Ray said, I've been around a long time. I was fortunate to find my way into things, early on and make good friends like Ray. But in general, I think I would describe myself, very simply by just saying I love people and I love furniture and love figuring out how to make things work and figure out what the next twist is coming in the road and see what we can do to stay successful and stay relevant. But it's always a journey, and the best part of this industry is we get to do that journey with our friends. And so it's been a fun ride so far.
Perfectly said. So take us back. You and your family started out with the furniture store in Colorado as a Broad store, correct?
It goes a little bit further back than that.
All right, take us back.
All right, we'll go in the way back machine here. So a number of years ago, my dad had found his way into the furniture industry after being in the Army. And in that early journey, he found his way into working with Ethan Allen. And that was a lot of where he got his love and passion, for the business. And that brought, my parents to Colorado to work with Dave Smith and the crew at Homestead House. They, back in the day before the dedicated Ethan Allen stores, you could have galleries, in mom and pop type stores. But anyway, my dad fell in love with the industry, and after working for other people for a number of years, decided to, strike out on his own and find a way to have his own business. And with all the competition that existed here in Colorado, the way that he found his way in was with unpainted furniture, unfinished furniture. And so he loved the idea of being able to take products and make them unique for customers and match stains and work with real quality, hardwoods and American-made goods. So at one point, we had grown to become the largest unfinished furniture showroom in the country. And at that point, that's when we kind of stumbled into this relationship with Broyhill. We had seen the domestic manufacturing, beginning to decline as the offshoring was happening in the late 90s and early 2000s. And so we were out looking for partners where we could find a new way to be relevant in the furniture industry. And that's when we met the management team with Broyhill. They were just beginning to establish dedicated store programs called Broyhill Home Collections. And so we were one of the first in the country to be able to sign up and take that journey. And so it was a real fast forward into furniture, because we had been case good fanatics for, a couple of decades at that point. And so then going full line, furniture with Broyhill was just an amazing catapult in education and really just how you do things. It was, to me, couldn't have been more of a light year change going from unfinished furniture to a dedicated Broyhill store. And at that time, Broyhill was still the number one furniture brand in America. They were the leader of the pack at that time. So it was just a really big blessing and a really big opportunity.
So obviously you had the benefit of them being a dominant brand. As you look back in retrospect, were there disadvantages of just being a single brand?
Yeah, absolutely. The expression, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Well, we were all in, good, bad, or ugly. We were in for the ride. So, there was a ton of benefit. They had really good talent when we first partnered up with them in 2004, 2005. They had a really good management team in place and people that had tremendous careers in the industry leading up to that. From previous iconic names in the industry. With Levitz and just anyhow, there was just a remarkable team, whether it was design, furniture, showroom layout, accessory shopping. I mean, there were in every single department, we had really great people that were able to teach us and coach us and help us make a new path and give it the best go possible.
So when that ended, you found yourself kind of like, all right, what do I do next? And then you came up with a store concept that was couldn't have been more different than Broyhill.
Sure.
Walk us through some of that, because that's an interesting story.
Well, adversity creates opportunity, and a lot of times when I'm asked about that moment, it reminds me of the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
And there was a point where he went to go meet his girlfriend's parents, and they asked him, to pray over the evening meal, and he didn't know how to pray, and so he just told the story that his dad always told, and a couple of mice fell into a bucket of cream, and one gave up and drowned, and the other fought hard until he churned it into butter and walked his way out. And I feel like our situation, when Broyhill went, I mean, it went. And so here you were being a dedicated store for really it was almost the better part of 15 years. So we had that identity, that mindset, and we had to change quickly. And so the idea was really, we had to go back and assess what all the things were that were ultimately the threats. You think about, that classic, SWOT assessment, what were the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And so clearly in our situation, one of the bigger threats was just relying on a single brand. And there's multiple problems that can occur. There are good franchise type programs out there. But one of the challenges is you're trusting that their leadership is making good decisions, whether that's from how they run the business or the merchandise that they're designing, the price points, their marketing, even the credibility of their brand. You're really relying that they have all those things in a good place. And but we found that from a merchandising standpoint, we were pigeonholed in certain areas, and we really wanted the ability to offer that personalization on a product level, similar to what we did when we were an unpainted furniture store. We were able to choose wood species and colors, and we even worked with manufacturers where we could change designs to a certain degree. And so we really wanted to set out and say, okay, what were those threats? Well, one of them was the merchandising. Styles were changing faster and faster with the way that we shared information with the internet, with certain designed personalities on television. The ball ran much faster, and we needed the ability to personalize product, especially because Colorado is a melting pot. We have so many people moving here. I think there's certain parts of the country where your furniture styles and your designs, they're kind of tried and true. Certain areas are going to be a little more traditional, some are more modern. When you're that melting pot, you can't just be in one lane. You have to be able to pivot and adapt to the needs of customers with those styles. So we really sought out to partner with manufacturers that could give us a reasonable amount of control. We weren't trying to do custom, but we did want to focus on options based. And so what that did is it solved a couple of other problems. One of the big challenges we saw in the industry was the expense of running that business, the overhead, the classic business model of bigger is better. You need a bigger showroom, you need more stuff, you need more inventory. And I'm not going to say that doesn't work for some, but I can tell you honestly that was not working for us. It created liabilities, and when merchandise would be discontinued, or when a style would change, or there were just a lot of things that became difficult to keep up with. So what we focused on was being able to create a smaller showroom environment that was less intimidating to a customer, but being able to merchandise it with products that gave them tremendous flexibility, in terms of fabrics, finishes, sizes, and shapes. And so it was a really interesting, twist of, basically, I think that was a long-winded way of saying we had to squeeze through the knothole of figuring out what things would threaten to take us out and what opportunities could we turn that into to be a benefit to the customer.
So what year, take me back, what year did you launch the new concept? And just drill down a little deeper on, like, you've given me broad base how it's different, but give me some specifics about what makes your store unique, because it is very unique.
Sure. Yeah. So the big thing is it is a relaxed, pressure-free environment, right? So we're going to work with a customer in the same way you and I are hanging out right now. So the big idea is customers were tired of being painted like a target. So we wanted to have a comfortable, intimate, environment where they just didn't feel lost, or they didn't feel like they were walking onto a car lot. We utilize a lot of technology as well. So not just trying to do, touch screens and things, like a Wonder Sign, for example, but we also wanted technology where customers could bring in images from their home and from the spaces they're working on, and we can cast those up onto some big screens that we have around the store. So we're able to engage with the customer and bring their home into the store. So kind of creating a hybrid environment where you have your demonstrator models, they're able to feel and experience things, but then digitally we can take you and we can drape product, we can affect the images to show you the different fabrics and finishes, and help walk you through it. So there was more of a problem solving approach that was taken versus a shotgun approach. So we sell through concepts. So a lot of stores just have to sell literally, this is the thing you're considering. And what we're helping customers experience is the idea really of what makes something good for you. Is it the size? Is it the shape? Is it the color? Is it the comfort? And so we're able to take a number of different potential sales paths to solve that customer's problem, instead of just saying, here's a bunch of stuff, go walk around and let me know when you found it and I'll write you up.
Mm-hmm. Now tell me about your customer base, in the sense that, I guess, when you were Broad Hill, remembering what I remember about the industry, they had a very specific target and customer base. But
Mm-hmm.
now you're in Colorado, which is incredibly eclectic,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got kind of this out of the box, have it your way, or we'll work together to make it your way store.
Right.
So you must be, who are you attracting? And it sounds like your customer is everybody.
Yeah. So, the people that we're attracting, instead of taking the classic answer and giving you a name, an age range or a household income, we can talk about those things. But the person that we're attracting is someone who's wanting to do something right for the right reasons. They're people who want to be intentional about what they're bringing into their home. We tend to attract a customer that values the home environment a little bit more. What I mean by that is they're not just trying to fill a space with stuff that's just as inexpensive as possible. They're actually wanting to buy it based on the needs of the family, what they're trying to accomplish, and what they want that home to provide back to them in their life. Especially following COVID, we had a lot of people that they had to spend a lot of time at home, and they had to spend a lot of time with their family, whether they liked that or not. And then they realized what parts of the home worked for them and what didn't. And so what's interesting is the customers who come to us, they see that we have solutions on different levels. We have different price points, different styles. Again, we're able to meet them on different levels, but through this relationship journey that we take, the customer that interacts with us the best are people who want to do the right thing for the right reason.
So when you reach out to them with messaging, can you talk to us a little bit about is it social media? Is it print? You tell me, how do you talk to them and reach them and keep them close?
Well, that is a work that is still in progress, my friend. I'm trying to figure out, the best way to tell that story. We're finding that video is the most engaging. I think it's very difficult to tell that type of a story in print. I think most customers are used to print simply being promotional, and that's not the message that we're screaming. So there's an element of social media. About a third of our business comes from referral. So that's been a really important, thing for us. If we can establish that positive relationship, people are willing to share their credibility and their networks with friends and family, with us. The other part of it is we're in a nice shopping center. It's a lifestyle type of shopping center. It's an outdoor mall. And we have, close to 130 national, tenants in the shopping center. So the people who come, we have good visibility, that way. So I would say it's kind of a third, and a third. So a third is just, knowing that we're here by being in the area and being in the shopping center. A third is referral, and a third is digital.
Terrific. Now you grew up with the technology. I mean, so you were a furniture retailer that embraced it, wasn't afraid it, understood it. How have you incorporated into the home collections?
Yeah, so here in store again, we're utilizing digital signage throughout the store so that we can explain additional options and talk to customers while they're shopping. Another beautiful part of that is it creates movement in parts of the showroom where customers aren't. So it makes it more inviting and catches their eye to come over. We use large 65-inch work centers, 65-inch display work centers where we can go sit down with customers and pull up digital catalogs and work with the draping, providing the ability for customers to project and cast images from their phone of their home and the rooms that they're working on up onto these displays. There's a number of areas where we've tried to bring that technology in and use things that people are already comfortable with so that it's not too far out. We're not asking them to strap a set of goggles on their face or doing, put on any kind of virtual reality stuff. We're just working with the tools that are familiar, but using the technology throughout, being able to use EDI in the ordering systems. We use a type of facial recognition for traffic counts. So finding the areas where the technology can supplement the human aspect. We don't want to replace the human aspect. We want to enhance that and do it in ways that they're already familiar and comfortable doing it.
Perfect. We saw over the years as the online retailers became more and more successful and dominant, and people got it through their heads that, yeah, people will buy a mattress or a sofa or a large item online, sight unseen. Can you believe it? Yeah, we do. So then I started noticing the brick and mortar guys dipping into some of the online only furniture retailers' bag of tricks and vice versa. And so now there's this kind of hybrid.
Right.
Is that the retail model of the future, do you think, or is there something new out there?
I think it's just part of the new normal. I don't know if I would say that it's the total future, but I think it's absolutely, the new normal. I don't think that the majority of the brick and mortar stores that were able to, I don't think they wanted to just give up something that they could do reasonably easy. I think that approach is easier to do when you're working with standardized items. You're going to buy this thing this way. I think it's a lot easier to be able to do, that e-commerce or brick and click, kind of matchup. But to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons we really like an option-based program. It takes you a little bit out of what I guess I might call the rat race of the price game. I don't have to play that because we're focusing on other values other than price. And it also makes those things harder to shop online. People do want to come and see what a different cushion feels like, or they want to see what those fabrics look like in person. I think that from my experience and from what I've seen, I think there's certain price points that lend themselves to the e-commerce approach. I know that all price points are being sold online, so someone could easily, debate me or prove me wrong on that. But for the average consumer, I think there's a certain price point that they want to go see it. They don't want to roll the dice and, see if it shows up the way they hoped. I think the internet is really good at making things look better than they are in real life. And so I do think that, the e-commerce and the brick and click thing will become more common. But I think that's going to remain a moving target. And so I think for the smaller guys, that is going to be a challenge to keep up with.
All right, earlier you mentioned somebody might debate you on one of your premises. Here's a premise I don't think anybody would debate us on. We need more young people. Now, when, as part of the Retail Association, you were instrumental in creating this group that really brought a lot of excitement and young people in, and you communicated and you shared best practices.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? How do we take that to the next level? And how do we get smart younger people to come in and stay?
Yeah. I think the big thing is the younger generation. I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, what young person doesn't want to have a little bit of fun? So we have to be engaging. We have to show them that this is an industry that has fun, and help young people have fun together. That's how they build their networks and their peer groups and the people that they're going to continue this journey with for however many years. I think one of the things that would help get people engaged and keep them engaged is helping them see the impact that they're having in the world. I look at, my nieces and nephews and the things that inspire them, and a lot of young people want to have a feeling like they're making a difference in the world. They want to have a feeling that they're impacting things. I mean, yes, they have to have a paycheck, but I think they also want to know that what they're doing makes the world a better place. And I think something that the furniture industry could do better at is communicating to these people that you're making a difference. You are providing jobs and you are creating paychecks and opportunities, but at the same time, you're affecting people's lives in its most intimate form, which is where they live. When we put furniture in a room, we enable, things, right? So if I want to have a movie night with my family, I need furniture. And I need to make sure the furniture is comfortable, that it fits my family, and that I can sit down and enjoy that movie. If we're hosting Thanksgiving dinner, I need to make sure that I have the table and the chairs. Each area of our homes creates the things in our lives that, frankly, are the most important. And we get to do that in this industry. We get to do all the other things that a job would do, right? Whether you focus on accounting or marketing or sales or whatever your particular niche is in this industry, you get to do that with the added caveat of knowing that you had the ability to impact, somebody. My dad used to tell a story when he worked with Ethan Allen. He was able to do some training with one of the founders, Nat Ansel. And Nat would do this training exercise with people where he would ask them to close their eyes and think of their room, when they were a kid. And people would kind of say, well, that's a weird question. I don't know. I haven't thought of that in 10, 20, 30 years. And you can ask this question to people and it might have been 60, 70 years. But he would walk them through an exercise where he would say, I want you to close your eyes and describe your childhood bedroom to me. And without fail, you can ask this question to people. They'll be able to think back and they'll kind of, okay, I had this piece of furniture. Okay, well, what color was it? And well, can you tell me more about it? Did you have a hiding place in the room? And if you ask them to engage it, they can, and they'll go, gosh, that's really weird. I haven't thought of that in years. And I can tell you very detailed, what it was like. And it's because that was an important space in their life. Your home and the furniture and the things that surround you set the stage for life. And so, again, I think, how do we get young people involved? Let's have fun. Let's help them understand that they're having the chance to have a wonderful impact. They're creating jobs, they're impacting communities, commerce, but they're impacting people. And I tell customers all the time that everything that makes its way out into the world starts at home. And so how cool is it that we get the chance to actually have an influence on that and make it better?
Yeah, and I'm sure you've been a couple of times. I've been at a neighbor's house when their furniture showed up, their new furniture.
Yeah.
And it was like a party.
Hmm.
They loved it. But I think what we're talking about in a roundabout way is we probably could also do a better job in our messaging other than no down payment, no interest, no blah, blah. I mean, we never celebrate the feel good factor,
Right.
the, making sheetrock and brick and mortar a home,
Right.
and
Absolutely. I think, one of the things that, I felt like we might talk about is what's something we could do as an industry, to be better. And I think you just said it. I think we could do a better
backfill now,
job.
backfill on it. Tell me what you think, augment on that.
Well, I think our messaging and our connection point with people is that we can make you better, right? Like if you look at other industries and how they market, like look at Ford or Toyota when they're doing their trucks. Remember they used to do those Toyota commercials where the trucks would roll down the side of a hill and they'd
Toyota tough.
and yeah, and they would just drive off, right? Like and it's like if you drive this, you're going to be tougher. And so every other industry is able to say how their product is going to somehow make you better, whether it does or doesn't. They're really good at telling you that it will. And so sometimes people buy things whether they need them or not. When we went through the last furniture recession, furniture went in the dumps, but electronics and flat screen sales were still going through the roof. And they were just, in my opinion, doing a better job of telling people why they should go buy that $2,000 or $3,000 TV when people were arguing about going and buying an $899 sofa. And I don't think it came down to price. I think it came down to the fact that we were just doing a really poor job about telling people why their life was going to be better for having us in it. And so I think that would be the backfill. I think as an industry, I think we can do a better job collectively, helping people understand the benefits that we provide through the product that go beyond the product.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the clock and we got time for one last question.
Sure.
And you get the last word. So here's my question and you get the last word. If you could say one thing to help each of the following groups, close by saying something to vendors, close by saying something to other retailers, and then close by saying something to reps.
Sure. Well, this one kind of goes back to, I think you've heard this answer, in response to a different question, but I think the idea is we're in the same boat, and I think we need to synergize a little better. And I think we all rely on each other, and there's analogies of the three-stranded, cord is not easily broken. There's the three-legged stool. And I think what you're describing for our industry is what I've always been taught was the three-legged stool. It's the relationship between the manufacturer, the retailer, and the sales rep. Without one of any of those, the thing falls over. And so I think that we've been running these individual, races, for too long. And I think for each of us, there's a way of saying, we talked about this theme about, how can we, connect with consumers and tell them we're going to make their life better. We have all of the ability to tell that story uniquely as a manufacturer, as a retailer. How are you taking that and applying that and making it possible and making people's lives better for it? I think it's a relationship thing. So I think when you look through the history of the industry and what makes this industry great and different compared to so many other businesses, it's the relationships. And so my hoorah, or my encouragement to this industry would be, let's find ways where we can work together. Doesn't mean we're not going to compete, but we each have things that we're going to be able to do uniquely that are going to lift the tide for the industry, and that's going to lift all boats, right? So with manufacturers, please use some technology. Please, unplug the fax machine. Let's get some 3D models. Let's get into the things that will engage customers. We need to be more engaging. And sales reps, please call on your stores. Please, have the conversations that are relational, not just simply business. And for the retailers, keep fighting the good fight. It's been tough. Sometimes as a retailer, you feel like you're at the tail of the whip, and you're kind of the last to know, and you're the one out front making contact, and keep fighting the good fight. You know, without the retailer, the reps don't have a job, and the manufacturers don't have anybody to sell to, and you know, keep finding ways to reinvent and connect with customers. That would be my encouragement to you guys.
Could not add anything to it. And based on the name of the podcast, the last word, I cannot. I will say this, for all of you that are listening, this is going to be archived. It's going to appear on the IFRA website and Home News Now, and it's going to be archived. And I'm glad, because while I was doing this interview, I'm saying this is a podcast I want to go back and listen to again, because there's a lot of meat in there. So I want to thank you for your time and your friendship and just making us better, Lael. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Ray. So when do we get to turn the table on you and interview you? If we had another half hour, I think there's some questions that I think you would be incredible answering.
Well, I need you to start a podcast for me, and then I'll be the first one. And your podcast will be Over the Hill, and I'll be the first guy to talk to you. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right. Stay well. Regards to the family, and thank you so much for doing this with us, Lael.
Thanks, Ray.
I see you soon. Bye-bye.